Last time we spoke was about 6-8 months ago in Davos, and we talked about the way that you're working to turn Pepsi around, healthier offerings. And it's interesting, when you look back at your history with the company, you were sort of one of the big supporters of spinning off KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell. So you've seen this trend for a long time. How's that going? It's a huge transition for Pepsi.
I think it's going spectacularly well, and I'm proud of the team. I'm proud of what actions we're taking. And earlier this year in our investor meeting, we talked about the fact that the good-for-you products like Quaker, Tropicana, Gatorade for athletes, all of that constitutes about $10 billion within our $60 billion company, almost $60 billion company. And we have a roadmap to grow these $10 billion to almost $30 billion by 2020. So over the next 10 years, a robust top-line growth, global expansion of these businesses. I think the teams are doing a phenomenal job with the products.
Looking at China, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a bigger bull on China than you. You've spent a lot of time there. You have 22 plants there. You now have permission from the government to build 14 more. Some argue that India will grow faster than China. What's your take on opportunities in both countries?
I think both countries are emerging markets, and they're called that way for a reason, because they have years of growth in front of them. China has the advantage of being centrally planned, so the growth is going to be more organized, it's going to be managed, and it's going to be not so chaotic. India is an ultimate democracy, and it's a democracy which is very complex because there aren't just two parties, there are hundreds of parties. It's a country not united by language. It's a country which has a bunch of diverse states knitted together under one federal government. And so I think India is going to be a thriving democracy for decades to come because they have the demographic advantage. They have many, many people who are very young. But growth in India is going to come very differently. It's not going to come planned by government. It's going to happen in spite of government. And I think the way I'd contrast the two, I think in India you're going to make money faster because private enterprise can go in and get out fast. In China, it's going to take a longer time to get in because the government is going to manage how you come in and they're going to manage how you get out.
Conversely, when you talk about Russia, which Pepsi has a big investment in as well, you say you have to be careful not to overinvest in Russia. What do you mean by that? And
Russia is a thriving economy again. Actually, it's come back very, very nicely after the economic downturn. But we cannot forget that China has 1.3 billion people. India has 1.1 billion people, and a large portion of that population is very young, so we've got years of growth. On the other hand, Russia has got 110 million people, and the population is not growing. So you've got to be careful that when you look at your investment per person and the growth prospects, you don't overinvest in Russia because you don't have the population tailwinds, population growth tailwinds behind you, like you do in India and to a certain extent in China. And that's why I think each country, you've got to think through carefully what you're investing in, what returns you're looking for, and what duration. That's what we balance very, very carefully.
Finally, looking at the private sector as a whole right now, Pepsi is a truly global company. As you say, you're local in every country that you operate in. Looking at the U.S. economy, the hiring picture here, what does Pepsi need to feel comfortable hiring in a meaningful way? And on top of that, is it a change in policy from the administration? Because the Obama administration has taken a lot of heat for its economic policy right now. But we need the private sector in this country to really hire to see any kind of turnaround.
Look, private sector is going to hire if consumption picks up. Consumption needs to pick up. Look, the reason companies are not investing in a big way is people are not buying. If consumption picked up, companies would invest. So, yes, some of it is policy, some of it is fixing all of the issues of the past. So I don't think there's a single policy weapon available with the government that, if applied bluntly or otherwise, is going to trigger consumption. I think we have to work our way through the current economic crisis. I'll be honest with you, I'm no economist, but I talk to a lot of economists, I talk to a lot of politicians, I talk to a lot of fellow CEOs. I am hard-pressed to find one policy tool that can get us out of this economic downturn in a short time frame. I think it's going to take 24, 36 months for us to work through the housing inventory, for us to get unemployment rates down. If we don't want to address the deficit, if you don't want to exacerbate the deficit, we have to work our way through this. This is a slow grind. And for us to expect that there is a a blunt instrument or one policy action that's going to impact it. I don't care who is in power. There isn't one available.